My video for June the 4th, 2019 is video number 3106. The title is Mind Control is Not a Personal Choice. Some believe everything we experience in life is the result of choices we have made, sometimes even in past lives of which we have no recollection. It has been referred to as the law of karma. For me, there is much more at play or in play that we are forced to deal with, things that are absolutely beyond our personal control. We are not really given any choice. The only choice we actually have is how we choose to respond. Everything seems to be set up to influence our perception of reality. Some say the spiritual solution is to recognize that there are more to our lives than we can perceive with our five senses. We have to attend to our sixth sense, our intuition. That seems right to me. However, the system on this planet seems to me like one of deception or mind control. This has to have been set up before we were even born in this lifetime. We did not choose it, at least not consciously. There was no personal choice involved at all. I continue to wrestle with what seems to be the realities of this world that some choose to call just an illusion. I don't consider experience to be an illusion. Experience is real, even if we live in a physical world that is mostly empty space, as we are told by those who study things under the powerful microscopes, and they see atoms, I guess. I mean, I don't know if they can really see atoms, but apparently they can, and they've determined that most atoms are just empty space. And so physical reality is an illusion, or, as I've said in many videos, a delusion. We are deluded to think this is real. And the experience certainly is. We can feel pain. Our hearts break when things don't go the way we thought they were going to go. We are wounded by relationships with lovers and loved ones in our family, and even our personal friendships seem to waver in and out and sometimes totally disappear. Sometimes even our family seems to become totally alienated from us, and we don't understand why. People have different perceptions of what is reality. There are those that believe that conservatism is the answer, others that believe liberality is the answer, and I honestly believe it's a combination of both. It's never an either or proposition. It's always a both and proposition. We have to deal with this and that, the five senses and the intuitive sense. We have to come to grips with the realization that there is much that we cannot perceive with our five senses, and we can only get glimpses of it with our sixth sense. We don't live in our sixth sense. We live in our five sense reality. That is our physical reality. And yet, I have experienced, and many others have experienced, things that do not seem to be of this world. They're of another world, a higher dimension, a higher plane of reality than what we can perceive. Is that true? To me, it is. But those that choose to live only in the five senses and refuse to recognize the greater connection that connects everything in life, they seem to want to control the reality. They're control freaks. And it's sad because they end up hurting others, and they don't even realize that they're actually hurting themselves, because all of the hurt is projected out. It's never taken in. It's never, what role did I play in this? I mean, people are so convinced oftentimes that their particular perception is the only right one. And yet, as I've said again and again in my videos, the only right one is to love. The only right one is to get beyond the egocentric point of view and develop a spiritual point of view that recognizes wholeness and does its best, we do our best, to integrate the opposites, the apparent contradictions that we are forced to look at if we are to be objective at all. We are forced to look at these things. But when we think we've got the answer, we tend to shut down everything that doesn't meet the standard of the answer that we believe is the right one or the real truth. And so we build barriers. And we do that. That's a personal choice. That's how we choose to respond to the experience called human life. I choose to hug trees every day because, to me, the oak tree that I hug regularly, daily, that has roots that go down into the earth as far as the oak tree goes up into the sky. I mean, they're twice as big as what we perceive with our senses. The hidden part, the part that's underground, is like our unconscious. There's as much below the ground, maybe even more, in the unconscious that we cannot perceive than what can be perceived with our five senses. That's simply the reality when we get to see a big, I'm not going to say the bigger picture, because there's more than one bigger picture, a bigger picture that expands us, that gets us beyond the limited boundary of our personal ego, our personal experience, that we think, well, this is what I've experienced and it seems good to me, and so that must be the truth. And then we try to impose it on others. But others don't have our personal experience level and can't, because each of us is a unique expression of creation, whatever creation is. And it does evolve. So I'm not discounting evolution, but at some point it had to come into existence. There's a beginning. Well, as I say those words, I wonder, was there actually a beginning? And truthfully, I don't know. My logical mind says yes, but maybe there was no beginning. Maybe it just is. I don't know the answer. I'm an explorer, and I believe only explorers are going to be able to transcend the limitations of three dimensions and get into the higher spiritual dimension of actually loving one another. I know you've heard me say that again and again and again, but that's where the answer has to come from. It can't come from each ego trying to prove that its perception of reality is the only right one, because that's insane. And we live on a planet of lunatics, insane people who are trapped in the ego perception that they think is the reality, when it's just a perception of what we are experiencing individually. Consider the things that I'm saying, and I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you again for listening, and namaste.